What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast. It's me, your host, Drew Manning, aka Fit to Fat to Fit guy. It's so funny how many people, when I am at an expo or out and about, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, Fit to Fat to Fit, I've heard of that," but nobody really knows the name Drew Manning, which is fine. I don't really have an ego about that, so I just think it's funny. Or if people see my pictures, if I'm at an expo or something, like, "Oh yeah, you're that guy that did that." So anyway, it's kind of funny. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today to the Fit to Fat to Fit Experience podcast. You guys, you need to stick around for this episode. I have Tony Horton, aka P90X guy. Most people know his name, right? His infomercial about P90X blew up back in the day. Still super popular. He's kind of like the Jack LaLanne of our era. I was fortunate enough to get connected with him finally. I've looked up to him, ever since I became a personal trainer back in 2009. So I was super honored to have him on the podcast. And I asked him some tough questions, some really interesting questions, you guys. And at the end, he even thanked me for asking him some unique questions, I guess you could say, just because I want to pick his brain about things other than, hey, what's your favorite workout, or hey, what's your favorite thing about P90X? There's so much more to a human being than than their job, in my opinion. And so anyways, I wanted to kind of get to know him more on a personal level. So we kind of dive into some deep things. He offers some great advice, you guys, on things like preventing injuries and the importance of yoga, and even some spiritual benefits of that. So we dive into all of that. He gives some nutrition advice, of course, and some exercise advice for those of you who want that. But anyways, it's a great episode, you guys, and I'm super excited. Now I've had Shaun T and Tony Horton. Next on the list is Bob Harper and Jillian Michaels. So if you guys know them, if you guys know their email addresses, let me know. Hoping to have all the big names on here eventually. All right, before we jump into the episode, you guys, I got to give a shout out to our show sponsors. Today's episode is sponsored by QuestKeto.com. My friends over at Quest Keto, you guys, they make delicious, healthy keto meals that are convenient. So they have freezer meals that actually taste really good. When you warm them up, when you heat them up, they actually don't taste like frozen meals. What's so cool is they're high in fat, moderate amount of protein, low in carbs. So if you're on that keto lifestyle, if you're doing my 60-day keto challenge with me, you guys, you need to check out Quest Keto. Not saying you need it every meal of the day, right? Because it's about $6.50 per meal, which isn't, it isn't too expensive in my opinion, but you're paying for the convenience of not having to cook, or you're on the go and you need something quick and easy, and it tastes good, and it's going to fit those macros of that keto lifestyle. Quest Keto is your answer, man. They do a really, really good job. And their snacks, their crackers are amazing. The cinnamon bun, you guys, if you guys have not tried that would be the only one meal that I would recommend you purchase over any of the other ones, just because it'll be life-changing. So you need to check them out, Quest Keto, you guys. Go show them some love. Our next show sponsor is dropinfbomb.com. Now, you guys have heard me talk about the keto lifestyle, which is a high-fat, moderate protein, a low-carb type of lifestyle. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is getting in enough fats, right? People are like, "Oh yeah, I eat nuts and cheese and meats," which are good, but your main source of fat, it's hard because those other things I mentioned have protein and carbs in them, and you got to remember that around 70% of your calories need to come from fat. Dropinfbomb.com, they make eating keto easy, right? Because they have these single serving packets of high quality fats that you can bring with you when you travel, when you're on the road. You can put them in your pocket, bust it open, and chug it. They have the highest quality olive oil, or coconut oil, or macadamia nut oil, avocado oil, and then they have some amazing nut butters too. And yeah, I am okay with just chugging it, putting it in my mouth and just swallowing it. But other people, you can put it in your coffee, you can put it over your salad dressing when you're at a restaurant. Having it in your purse, for example, and on the go, you can add it to your foods, because getting protein and carbs at restaurants, for example, when you're eating out is easy, but getting in enough high quality fats is hard. So check out dropinfbomb.com. Use my discount code FIT2FAT2FIT for 10% off, you guys. It makes eating keto more convenient. And as you know, my two sponsors, Quest Keto and Drop an F-Bomb, it's all about making this lifestyle more convenient, easier, which is going to help people more maintain that type of lifestyle over the long term. So go show them some love as well. Drop on fbomb.com. Use my discount code FIT2FAT2FIT. All right, you guys, one last thing before we jump into today's episode with Tony Horton. You guys remember when I did Fit to Fat to Fit over 5.5 years ago? I had 75 pounds of pure fat that I gained in 6 months. Well, I wanted to show people how to lose that in the next 6 months. So I documented what I ate every single day for 6 months and my exercises that I did every single day that helped me transform from fat to fit. Not only that, thousands of people also followed me on that program, which I put out there back in the day, and people could follow me every step of the way. And thousands of people transformed their minds, their bodies, mentally, emotionally, physically, with this transformation, 6-month transformation program that I put together when I did my Fit Fat to Fit journey, you guys. This is my baby. This is by far one of the biggest things I've seen help people transform is my Fat to Fit program. It has now been repackaged and is available for purchase, you guys. I'm super proud of this product. It's, there's 30-day programs, 60 days, 90 days. There's not a whole lot of 6-month true transformation packages that are out there. And the best thing is that I coach you throughout the process, right? That's one thing that was powerful is I was doing this with people. And so it was like they were doing it with me. Well, I'm going to be there with you every step of the way. Even though I'm not losing the weight with you, I will be there to coach you, help you, adjust the meal plans to your needs, help you adjust the workouts to fit you and your lifestyle and any injuries you might have. I will be there as your coach. Go to transform.fit2fat2fit.com and check it out. Sign up today. It's 6 months of your life that will completely transform your mind and your body. And like I said, I couldn't be more proud of it. So transform.fit2fat2fit.com. All right, you guys, let's go hang out with Tony Horton from P90X. All right, Tony Horton, welcome to the show, man. How you doing today?
Drew, on fire, bro. Completely on fire, like a rocket going to the moon, man.
I love it, man. I love your energy, man. That's what I love about you. I've been a big fan of yours since 2009, to be honest with you, back in the day when I became a trainer. And so I really appreciate the inspiration you provided to people like me and millions of other people across the world. Are you currently in LA right now? Where you at?
I am in the City of Angels. I am, yes. This is where I reside. And I mean, I travel a lot. So, you could have caught me anywhere. You could have caught me in Seoul, South Korea. You could have caught me in Kosovo. Could have caught me at Utah Air National Guard Air Force Base, or who knows. I'm always on the move. But right now I'm hanging out at home, which is kind of nice.
Well, that's good, man. You definitely deserve a break every now and then, right?
Yeah, I do. Actually. Yeah, I do. I like to chill, man. That's one of my favorite things.
Well, good, man. Okay, so I have a lot of questions for you, man. I kind of want to start from the beginning a little bit. Back in the day, you were actually trying to become an actor, right? And you correct me if I'm wrong here, but you were trying to become an actor, but you're personal training on the side. And my question is, at what point did you decide to take the leap of faith into the world of fitness and say, okay, this is my passion. This is what I was meant to be. What was that epiphany, that turning point, that, light that clicked on in your brain that said, this is my path?
Well, I think quite often it's hard to describe a particular day or a moment or an event. I mean, for me, there was a series of things that happened over the course of 3 years that best describe the transition for me. One of them was the fact that I got hired to go to Minnesota, up there. I'd land at 10,000 Lakes up there. And I worked with Nordic Track, and I did some on-camera stuff for them. I did little 2-minute infomercials for one of their products. I did a lot of their instructional videos for their Nordic Track, how to put the thing together and stuff like that. And so they liked me because I had some acting background and I could walk and chew gum at the same time. I looked like a guy who worked out, but at the same time I could, hit my mark and read a teleprompter and be able to transcend the information the way they wanted me to. And I thought, oh, wow, this is an interesting combination of events. I'm able to be a trainer. I mean, I was training people. At that point, I was driving around town, like a lot of people. I was never a trainer in a gym. I was always a trainer that kind of like bopped around town. And I had a lot of celebrities. So I'd get up early at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'd finish 9 o'clock at night. It was a long day driving from Malibu to Venice to Century City to Hollywood, or Beverly Hills. But those two things didn't really merge until then. And then, very fortunately, I met Carl Deichler, who at that point was working for another company. He's the now CEO of Beachbody. And he said, I like your style, because he and I were working out together. I was training him here and there. And I went off and did a movie with Antonio Banderas. There was a bunch of European actors that I was getting in shape for all these fight scenes. And he came back and I said, he said, I want to do this thing with you called Great Body Guaranteed. I can pay you a couple grand. And we're going to knock these things out. We'll go to a local gym, and then we'll shoot some there, and then we'll go on to the beach because we're out of money. We'll shoot them. We'll shoot them in the fog at the beach at 7:30 in the morning. And I went, yeah, great. So it wasn't like I ever decided at some point that I was going to do this specific thing. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to start this career, or I'm going to be, America's fitness clown, right? So for me, it was really just, getting jobs here and there, and still training people, and still bartending bar, and still doing whatever I needed to do to pay my bills. But this thing took off. It's like some people have an idea, they'll do a webcast, or they'll do like a web series on TV, and all of a sudden they got a show on HBO, and there's a lot of years of just sort of, following your passion. And that's what it was for me. I enjoyed not working for the man. I enjoy being able to help people and transform people's, physical, mental, and emotional state through exercise and eating better. And I didn't know I was going to end up here, but it doesn't suck. I'll tell you that much.
No, I can only imagine. And the thing is, I can actually relate to that, because with my, Fit to Fit journey and how it evolved, and it wasn't just one single event that made me take this leap of faith, because I was working in the medical field full time, to pay the bills, and I liked it, but I was personal training on the side, and then I had this idea, and then, it just kind of took off. And over a series of events, here we are now. For me, 6 years later, still doing what I love, and it seems like that you kind of went through the same things. But I was just curious, because I could kind of relate to your story in that sense of like, what the steps you had that happen in order for you to get to where you're at. I'm always curious to know how that happened. Now, talking about the past a little bit again. So I want to talk to you about certifications, personal training certifications. When you started out as a trainer, I think I've heard you talk about this in the past of, look, personal training certifications, it's cool. Is it necessary? I don't know. Experience is way more important in your opinion. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think I remember you talking about this in an interview a long time ago. And I'm just curious to know your thoughts on, okay, if you want to be a personal trainer, step one, get certified. What's your take on all that?
Well, at this stage of the game, people are scrutinizing more and more and more. And so they want to make sure that you have a little kinesiology background, some exercise science, some nutrition science. It doesn't hurt by any means. It just gives you credibility. When I first started, back in the day, the whole training thing was like the Wild Wild West, Bodybuilders were big, and people wanted to know, how do you do that? And they would show them, And unless of course you were in a professional setting, or you were in a collegiate setting, you had to have a degree in certain things to be able to even get hired, and therefore you were able to have the wherewithal or the knowledge, the background to be able to train collegiate and professional athletes. And so when I first started, I was hanging around Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger at World Gym down in Venice, and my whole philosophy back then was the whole build and burn thing. Like, oh, I'm gonna do chest and back today. I'm gonna do legs tomorrow. I'm gonna do shoulders and arms, and you'd rotate these things, and you'd be in the gym for an hour and 45 minutes, and then you get on the bike for 45 minutes, and that was sort of the gist of it, right? And then over the course of time, partly because I was running into boredom, and I was running into injuries, and I was not seeing the results I wanted in other aspects of my life. I kind of was just curious, so I went to a bunch of great yoga classes, and I took Pilates classes, and I went to mixed martial arts classes, and I was just sort of a self-taught guy for a while. And then as Beachbody, came along and that became more popular, people were like, oh, what's your certification? So then I went out and I got my certifications, but we even have a certification for P90X, if you want to be P90X certified, you want to know the basic philosophy behind muscle confusion, which is really no different than periodization training, which was what Jack LaLanne was doing, in the 40s and 50s. You know what I mean? So there's just having a general knowledge of the body and making sure that you're not, you got 65-year-old guys doing, upright rows and doing, military presses behind their head and, and lunging with 40, with 245s in each hand, for somebody who's a track athlete. Like, what? Just knowing the basics and knowing how to best help people. And that was my early start, But I would say at this stage of the game, if you're in our career, it's like any career. It's like, how well do you communicate with people? I mean, I was a communications major in college, and little did I know that was going to help me be able to disseminate information in such a way so that the type of artistic rhetoric I use, known as humor, will allow people to sort of want to continue to come back day after day after day. And so I had some other breakthrough ideas. Things like, not assuming that everybody who's watching is going to be able to do it exactly like the 3 fitness models behind me. I gave people modifications. I told people to hit the pause button. I had a lot of silly humor, doing impressions of pterodactyls, whatever the hell I was doing. And so I would show up on the set and I would turn off the filter and I would just go be myself. And sometimes we'd have to cut because I'd go too far. But I understand that, and you probably know this as well. You're part therapist, part shrink, part trainer. So and you have to deal with the nuances of people's lives. And I was pretty good at that. I mean, I had Tom Petty, Billy Idol, Annie Lennox, Usher, Ewan McGregor, Sean Connery, Stevie Nicks. I mean, I had all these celebrity types. And every time I walked through the door, you were dealing with entourages and managers and producers and directors and all their people. And so you had to kind of filter through them and get to the client and make sure they're getting the best results. And that really had to do with your personality more than almost anything, But you also wanted to make sure, like, my whole thing was variety. When I had Billy Idol, sometimes we hit the bag, sometimes we did weights, sometimes we did body stuff, sometimes we did strictly core, sometimes we would do yoga. I mean, I introduced Bruce Springsteen to yoga and flexibility and a heart monitor and all these things that he had never experienced before because he was just lifting weights, And so now he's got his own trainer as well, but I saw him occasionally. But I just sort of, my thing is work on your weaknesses, but get your certifications, man. I mean, it never hurts, especially when you're first starting out.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with that. My take on it, though, is you could have all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't relate to your client, if there's no chemistry there between you and them, it's going to be hard for them to stay with you. And one of the quotes I live by is nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care about them. And in the world of training, especially one-on-one, it's cool to have all the knowledge. And I'm not trying to say like that's not important. Trust me, it is. But to have all those tools in your belt to help someone that's really struggling. But at the end of the day, if you can't relate to them on a personal level, or they feel like you just aren't, you don't care about them, or you're all about the money, it probably won't last long, right?
Yeah, man. And I know a lot of cats with PhDs with a view of the train station. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Their studio apartment. So you just have to be. You have to move and think and behave and listen to your situation, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. And
be really super flexible and open-minded and for example, I'm going to go up to Jackson Hole. I usually go up for the month of February, and we did a fundraiser for Habitat for Humanity. It was the 3rd year in a row where I was the MC, and we try to raise money for different events. And one was the earthquake in Nepal. The other one was the massive typhoon in the Philippines, and this year was for a learning center for young kids in Jackson Hole. And so, there I am, and I'm doing my thing, and I think I'm, they keep having me back because, I'm not just a trainer who tells you how many reps and how much weight and blah blah blah. That I can think quick on my feet and have some fun and I don't know why I brought that up, but
no, it is kind of like an art, right? You do have to. It's not just cut and paste, black and white. Okay, here's your body fat percentage. Here's your heart rate. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go down the checklist. You do have to be flexible, spontaneous, and be open and listen. Really understand how to listen to people instead of listening to someone to respond, right? Really listening to.
Yeah. And the idea here is to become more popular. So the more popular you become, the more eyeballs there are on you, and the more access you'll have to different situations that are going to help your career and business grow. So, what is your Facebook page? Are you active there? Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you, what's your Instagram look like? Do you have a podcast like you? Do you have, You have an electronic press kit ready for people if they want to know where to go and see what you're doing. These are just sort of the basic rules of building a business and becoming more successful.
Yeah. Which is funny how it's evolved over the years, right? Because back in the day, you didn't have to worry about Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram, right?
No, man, it was networking and giving out your business card. And
yes,
it's changed. And if you don't change with it, well, then you're not going to grow with everybody else.
That's true. That's so true. Okay, speaking of change, this is the big thing that I get asked a lot, and I've heard you talk on it, but you kind of have a really good point. People being ready to change. You're trying to help somebody, even if it's like a family member, someone you love. You want them to embrace this healthy lifestyle that will make them happier. Talk about like some of the struggles maybe you've had personally with even people in your own family. I know you talked about your mom before, but people that you just, it's not their time. Like they're not ready to change, no matter how influential you are in the fitness world.
The worst kind of advice is the kind that's never been asked for in the first place, period. So your greatest intentions usually are received with resentment. So you're getting an opposite effect based on your goodwill and your desire to help. But, it's like trying to get an alcoholic to stop drinking. You know what I mean? You're trying to get a drug addict to stop taking drugs. It's not as severe. They can still survive and get through life. They can probably still show up to work and get in traffic and be a decent parent. But, you can see the slide. You can see that things are becoming more difficult for them. They're having more illnesses and injuries in life. And maybe they're only in their 30s, 40s, or even 50s. So, it's like learning a new word. Right? You learn what the word conundrum means, and then you use it in a sentence. And then when somebody doesn't understand what you've said, you think they're an idiot. And you only learned the word 15 seconds ago, right? So it's just a matter of being conscious of the fact that your journey didn't happen overnight, or mine didn't, or most people's don't. Some people are athletic, and they were always athletic, and they had athletic parents, and they were naturally genetically gifted, and so and they ended, maybe they have a background in that sort of thing, either when it comes to health or wellness or nutrition or something. And so for them, it's just part of who they already are. But for the vast majority of people who are suffering in this healthcare crisis, it is as far away as the moon, And so you're asking them to basically, completely turn the ship around 180 degrees, and they're just not ready to do it. And so all you can really do is just live by example and answer the kinds of questions that can be answered only when you're asked. You mentioned with my mother, my mother had some major health issues. She died of cancer at 73. And, she didn't live as long as her parents, which is crazy. Her parents lived into their 80s. And a lot of it. And so genetically, she was kind of set up, but she smoked cigarettes, and then she had whooping cough as a kid. And she also had, severe arthritis and early stages of some Parkinson's disease. And so, but if you look at all the science, obviously cigarettes, the memo's out, It's like, if you want to increase your chance of getting some kind of throat, mouth, lung, esophagus cancer 40-fold, then smoke cigarettes, And when you're young, you think I'm going to live forever. But when you get older, you realize the consequences, right? So, and then when it comes to food, diet is the leading cause of most illnesses in this country. Like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and 25 different kinds of cancers. Sugar, holy crap. People who overeat sugar, their insulin levels spike. Your body's trying to figure out what to do with that stuff. It looks for mutated cells, and mutated cells turn into cancer cells from just overeating sugar. So I only need to hear that 2 or 3 times before I go, what the hell, man? And I'm 58, so I want the last 40 years of my life to friggin' rock, and I don't want to, I look at a lot of my peers and family members, and I think, you're done. You're in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, you're done. Yeah, like they're just scouting for escalators and elevators, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, sorry, man, you got to take them 2 flights of stairs, and that's like a journey. It's like they're climbing Kilimanjaro, And so you think, me, I take 2 at a time, backwards. So it's just like, everybody's like, oh, I want to work out because I want 6-pack abs or bigger arms or a chest or, that's all ego. That's all aesthetics. That's all you caring too much about what other people think about you. That's you caring too much about the scale and the tape measure and the mirror And it has nothing to do with the quality of life and your health. It's zero, you know. And so there's some of that. I mean, I'll lift up my shirt and show my abs anytime. But it's not, I work out because it's good for my head. I work out because at the end of a workout, I feel great. And when I don't work out, I don't feel as good. So I'm going to work out, and when I get up in the morning, I'm not going to have a bowl of freaking Fruit Loops because I'm an adult. I'm not going to have pancakes or waffles because it's the same thing as birthday cake. It's sugar, butter, and flour. That's what a bagel is, people. It's an unsweetened birthday cake. So think about that next time you put that in your mouth. No, so it's just discipline. Do you have it or are you not? Some people have it, some people don't. Some people don't. You are your tribe. If you're hanging around, if your best 5 friends are world-class mountain climbers, you might be interested in that. You know what I mean? You might turn into a badass. But if your friends are just sitting around drinking beers, eating pizza, smoking cigarettes, and watching the game, well then, welcome to Team Load. So. It really depends on, these are simple things that you can change, I did a course with Brendan Bouchard called Living Large with Tony Horton, and that's what I talk about. It's all based on my book, The Big Picture. And so, if people are interested in that and interested more in what I'm doing, then they can check it out. But.
Yeah, I won't put all that in the show notes, but I feel like anytime, if your why is based on physical looks or appearance or wanting to be skinny or have a six-pack, that's going to get burnt out. You're going to get burnt out eventually if you're just going to the gym to look good. Even I've been through that as a personal trainer who, I would do chest and back and, legs and shoulders, go through that routine of the same thing. Like, okay, I want to get leaner, I want to get bigger, I want to get, more shredded, and that's cool, but that kind of burns out over time. And the older you get, now that I'm 36, for me, it's like, I want to live a long time. Like, I don't want to die in my 50s. I want to be healthy. And yeah, I do like to look good. That's one of the byproducts of living a healthy lifestyle over time. But anytime your why is focused on, okay, I want to be skinny, you're going to get burnt out of that really quick. And you need to find a bigger why. There has to be more than just wanting to look good in life. And so getting people to change that over, especially here in America, we're so, we have this diet mentality of how do I lose the most amount of weight with the least amount of effort in the shortest amount of time, right? That's like the solution everybody's searching for, and we're so addicted to that. But in reality, it requires a true lifestyle change, which has to be your mental and emotional challenges being overcome. And so I definitely relate to everything you're saying and eating all this up. And I think people listening as well are starting to realize this is going to require a lifestyle change. Now, that doesn't mean you need to go from A to Z today, right? Start with baby steps. Small changes will lead to big changes down the road. So
yeah, like there's 2 different philosophies. There's, when it comes to diet, for example, it's all right. Well, what if I cut out these 2 things or these 3 things, 3 types of foods, and if I cut out, let's say I cut out some dairy and I cut out refined carbs and I cut out, fried foods, then I have to find replacements, So, but then, another philosophy is, well, don't think about cutting things out as much as adding things in, what I mean? And so add things in automatically like, for example, there's so many high caloric foods, right, that have no nutritional value. And so you constantly feel hungry because you're not getting the nutrition. Even though you're bloated and full, you feel like I'm still hungry. It's because, these things are typically high in fat, sugar, and salt, and they're low in nutrients and fiber and protein maybe. But, all of a sudden when you start eating healthier foods, you don't, the cravings are still going to be there, but you're full enough that you don't have that, that chemical response inside of your brain that says, oh, I want more, you want more of something horrible. And so it really depends on the individual. I had a great interview with Brendan Brazier yesterday from Vega, who's just you should have him on your show. And he's just filled with so much knowledge. His whole history, his whole story is really fascinating as well. And when you listen to him, you go, gee, why would I not eat legumes and beans and salads every meal, man? Feel like the phoenix rising from the earth. But so it just takes time, man. And you have to have a certain amount of discipline. You have to have a program, and you have to have faith. You have to have faith in a belief system in what you're doing. And what happens to a lot of people is they don't have good guides or mentors or coaches, and maybe they might even have some kind of a system that works, but they're left on their own, to sort of pull it off. And just a bad day or not having a good support system, and it all goes to hell when it didn't really have to. So it's it's serendipitous in a certain way. You know, there's a lot of things that have to kind of line up for it to work. But once they start working, once it starts, you know, once you get some momentum, then you can, you know, then your armor is a little bit stronger over time, and you can take those hits and nicks, you know, and keep going.
Yeah, no, so true. I know we could talk about, you know, exercise and nutrition all day because that's what people like, right? People, that's what's sexy. Okay, what do I change my workout routine to get this result? What do I change my diet to get this result? When in reality, it's more so about the mental, emotional, spiritual changes that are happening along the way. Because, like I said, you know, just being skinny, it isn't going to bring you happiness, or getting a six-pack, it doesn't bring you happiness. You have to look inside and figure out, you know, and realize that happiness comes from the inside. I'm curious to know for you, you know, are there certain things you have in place in your life right now with your age, you know, mental, emotional, spiritual things that have helped you stay fit on the psychological and spiritual level instead of, you know, just exercise and eating healthy, like meditation, reading books, certain routines that you go through every day? Can you talk about that if you have any?
Well, you know, I don't have anything specific every day because my schedule is ever changing, and there have been phases in my life where I was doing a lot of personal development work to kind of get myself into this place I'm in now, and I feel like it's funny because, you know, not a lot of people know this, but I'm in sort of a transition now. I'm going to be 60 in a year and a half, and I'm not that I'm thinking about retirement. Wouldn't even know what that looks like. I mean, if people want me to show up to things and talk about things and be at be at events and build a program, then I'm all in. You know, I mean, if I'm still relevant at that stage, well then, you know, sign me up. But, you know, there was an earlier stage where, you know, there was a lot of personal development, a lot of Tony Robbins and Deepak Chopra and Andrew Weil and Gary Zukav and Keith Ellis and John Rady, and you know, I read the books and did the seminars. You know, I mean, I've been doing some work recently in this sort of transitional period with Brendan Bouchard, you know, who's sort of the number one personal development online specialist. Oprah has done 2 courses with him. Tony Robbins, Larry King, myself, Usher, Arianna Huffington. You know, these are all, you know, pretty well known folks. You know, I'm probably, you know, more of a C-. They're more like A+ to B, but, you know, I'm just honored to be able to work with him and learn a lot more about how to, you know, move forward in life and create balance. You know, I learned years ago about, you know, Taoist thoughts of yin and yang. I'd read a lot of Taoist books back in the day, and we say yin and yang in this country for whatever reason. But, you know, it's just letting the pendulum swing in both directions. You know, I mean, go hardcore, work, find the edge of that envelope, max out your reps. You know, I mean, I've jumped out of helicopter Chinooks with the Golden Knights. I've been in an F-15C, threw up 7 times, going the speed of sound and doing flips and 8.8 Gs. You know, I've flown with the Thunderbirds and threw up in that thing. You know what I mean? So, you know, I mean, I don't say no very often. I'm petrified before I do half of these things, because people say, "Hey, man, come to Okinawa, to Kadena Air Force Base and get an F-15C." Sure. You know what I mean? And you know, the same thing when it comes to my training. You know, I mean, it's like simple things like how many pull-ups can I do in a minute? You know, I did 45 in a minute, not too bad. 60 dips in a minute, just sort of like fun, you know, but making sure that I'm doing a lot of yoga and making sure that I'm having a lot of, you know, foam rolling and Epsom salt baths and hydration and plenty of sleep, man, plenty of sleep. Yeah. And so, you know, the biggest issue you know, that these 2 things aren't talked about enough, it's dehydration, sleep deprivation. I mean, most of us walk around in that state, dehydrated and sleep deprived. So your body, your joints, your muscles, your tendons, your organs are working overtime just because you're not hydrated and you're not, you know, you don't have the proper nutrition in your body. And, you know, our circadian cycle is important at night. You know, you want to be in that deep sleep. You don't want to be in sort of that half awake, half sleep state because you're all stressed out about, you know, things you haven't done or things you got to do or conversations you have to have. And so you go to bed late because you're all wired, and then you have to get up early and go to work, and it's only 6.5 hours, and those 6.5 hours were terrible. I mean, Arianna Huffington has got this whole thing about sleep. You know, I mean, it seems like sort of a done that, been there kind of conversation. Yeah, we all know we need to have to get 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep. But most of us in this country just don't do it. And even if we're lying there for that period of time, we're not getting good sound sleep. So, I only meditate on a blue moon on a perfect day when when the suns and stars are lined up. It's not something that I do, but I do have a awesome 5 to 10 to 15 minute meditation that I share with people at a lot of my events that they get a lot out of. So for me, it's just finding balance, man. Balance is everything, and if you don't have that, then you're just going to feel burnt out, and you're not going to have the energy and enthusiasm to kind of go after life the way you'd like.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And, I think people over time will evolve and upgrade whether it's nutrition or whether their exercise programs or their lifestyle or, little things here and there. Like 10 years ago, I had no idea I knew what meditation was, but I'm like, that's weird. I'm not going to do that. And now I love it, right? And I'm older and wiser, and you pick up on things as you go throughout life. If you're stuck in the same place of doing, 3 sets of 10 in the gym, it's time to look into new options, and you're spending an hour and a half. It's like, but you're stuck with where you are. You're hitting a plateau. Just like everything else in life, you need to upgrade, you need to evolve, find what will work better, more efficiently for you. And, whether that's a different exercise routine or implementing meditation or starting to read books instead of watching so many movies, those kinds of things that people need to upgrade. And so I think that's really, really good advice. I kind of want to talk to you, kind of shifting gears here, genetics. I know some people a lot of time think, hey, it's because of my genetics. I remember when I did my Fit to Fat to Fit journey, and for 6 months, I got fat on purpose, right? People told me in the beginning, hey, you're in shape because of your genetics. Your genetics won't allow you to gain 75 pounds in 6 months like I did. I even surprised myself. I didn't know I was going to gain that much. But I think people place a lot of emphasis on, I am this way because of my genetics, and it is what it is, and I can't change it. Therefore, why even try?
Well, it's funny. Our journey, our life span, and even the course, and even during the course of a day or a week or a month, maybe, is dictated, by 3 different things that are happening simultaneously, and that is, our genetics are going to either make us vulnerable or durable on some level. You know what I mean? But what plays a bigger part is environment and behavior, more than anything. And you look at Jack LaLanne, his father passed away at 50 because of bad behavior. Jack lived to be 96. He'd probably still be around, but he ended up in a hospital with pneumonia, and the hospital screwed him up. At least that's what his wife told me. So and a lot of it is attitude. If you're a pessimistic, poor eating, not moving physically, individual with a bad family life and no hobbies and you're not pursuing your purpose, well, hello. I mean, your environment and your behavior are going to dictate a bad ride, Yeah. And so, and look, some people are ectomorphs, some are mesomorphs, some are endomorphs. There's a certain amount of genetic stuff that's at play. I'm an ectomorph, right? So I don't know, maybe you're a mes or something, but if you're a Samoan, you're not going to be a 98-pound supermodel. It just ain't going to happen. You know what I mean? It's just there's more subcutaneous fat. It's just in your genetics. You know what I mean? You might want to be a linebacker or a lineman. You know what I mean? So, but anybody can be healthy. You know what I mean? So if it's about your health, we could all eat the same stuff and be healthy. But would we all eat the same stuff? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, if you're Italian or if you're Mexican or if you're, Indonesian or you're Vietnamese, there's certain tastes and flavors and stuff that you would want to consume based on your culture. You know what I mean? But there are foods within your culture that are still healthy. You know what I mean? There are universal foods that are kind of bad for everybody. Like, Dr. Pepper and Doritos, don't do it. You know what I mean? If it's manufactured, if it comes in a box, a bottle, a can, or a bag, you might want to flip it over and see what's inside, because 9 times out of 10, the people that are manufacturing that stuff care more about their bottom dollar than they do your health. And so you have to decide whether you want to be somebody who's interested in those types of things. But if you eat fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats, I don't care what your genetics are, that behavior is going to make you a healthy person. Maybe it won't give you that aesthetic, ego-based appearance that you're hoping for, but then that's just going to make you crazy. So stop doing that. You know what I mean? It's like, stop doing things that you can't control, and you think that you can, but if you're miserable all the time while you're trying to do something, well, then that's the pretty clear sign. That's a pretty clear sign that the fact that you're trying to lose, 45 pounds and this number 45 is in your head, and And if I'm 45 pounds lighter, my life is going to be awesome. But the entire journey is hell. You know what I mean? And you cheat all the time, and then you gain and you lose and you gain and you lose. And then maybe at one point when you're at your most miserable, your 45 pounds are done. And then you go, all right, well, what am I supposed to do now? And then you start pile driving food again. And the idea here is, wow, what if I just found healthy food to eat that I like? I found the restaurants that provide me with those types of meals that I enjoy eating that are still healthy. And I figure out ways to cook certain foods that are not going to take me an hour and a half in the kitchen, but that are relatively quick and still really healthy, that I enjoy eating because it has the flavor, it has the texture, and it's filled with nutrition. So I'm not going to crave more of it in 25 minutes. And what like this works for everybody. There are universal truths and there are fake things that people think are universal for everybody else, right? So you have to kind of cut and paste your way through the baloney and begin to figure out what works for you. And, maybe you're not supposed to be in the gym bodybuilding. Maybe you're supposed to be at the track, or maybe you're supposed to be spending more time in a yoga class, or maybe like you're supposed to, discover meditation. I put yoga in every single program I've created except for the last one, which was a boot camp program. And I should have put it in there, but I got talked out of it because I didn't pay for it. But I mean, yoga requires patience. It requires you listening to what's happening in the moment because things are moving extremely slowly, in most yoga classes. It also has balance, which you don't get in a lot of different types of fitness. It has strength, obviously. If you're doing shoulder stands and plank and up dog and down dog, and there's constant tension on your arms and shoulders and chest. There's flexibility, which is, one of the most important things, not only physically, but also sort of when it comes to the rest of your life, just being flexible, being open-minded, being willing to reinvent yourself. I mean, you're a guy that was in the gym like me, lifting heavy weights, and then you finally figured out, well, maybe a little meditation, which is sort of the antithesis of bodybuilding, but that just makes you a more evolved guy. Do you want to be more evolved? Do you want to, or not? And it comes from constant education. I mean, most people just stop learning after high school and college. They're done. They figure, I got all the answers. I have a job. I'm paying my bills. What more do I need to know? You know what I mean? And then you realize, oh, wow, I played some softball. I ran down to first base and both my hamstrings exploded. Oh, why? Oh, look at me. Look, he's so fit, but because your hamstrings are like rebar back there, but your quads are overdeveloped. And no surprise you can't play any sports because you just focus too much on the aesthetic. You know what I mean? So, I'll do an event and there'll be 800 to 28,000 people. And I'll say, all right, let's all get into Baddha Konasana. And everybody knows what I'm talking about. 15 years ago, they would have looked at me and gone, what? So it's just, and your job and my job is to help educate people so that they understand that it's not just about one thing or two things. It's really to be well-rounded. It's about being open-minded. It's about, improving in a myriad of different areas of your life, not only physically, mentally, and emotionally, but even spiritually if you want to, through a variety of different things that can provide them with more information so that they can be better people till their final day on earth. Boom.
Yeah.
I just stopped the mic. There's the mic.
I was gonna say, where's the mic at? Did you drop it? Okay. No, that was perfect, man. That was really, really powerful, to be honest with you. And I couldn't have said it better, man. Life is an interesting journey, and what's so cool is nowadays there's so many avenues, there's so many methods to get this education out there to the mainstream media, right? You don't have to be a celebrity to have access to the celebrity trainer that knows all the secrets, right? Now you can, there's free podcasts. You can it's so funny. You can enter in any topic you want, whether it's like Game of Thrones or religion or, mountain biking, and there's a podcast about it. You can learn anything you want and it's free. You just download it and boom, it's like almost like the Matrix where you just instantly download it to your brain. It's not that evolved yet, but it's getting out there, getting the message out there, the education to the mainstream, your average middle America person that, really doesn't know. And I think, you're doing a great job of that. And, hopefully I'm doing a great job of that, trying my best. But, it's been really, really interesting to see how technology has helped this evolve as well. Okay, shifting gears here because we're running out of time. I want to give you some time to talk about Tony Horton Care, new books or new workout programs that you're working on. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Well, I've had great success in one area, but like we've been talking about, I'm always trying to reinvent myself and look at the different things that interest me, And so when I was in Connecticut, Rhode Island, I wasn't exposed to the sun as much. I moved out to California, and it kind of ruined my skin. I was in suntan booths. I was one tan man, and I just thought that made my blue eyes pop, and whatever. My ego was telling me that women found me more attractive if I was really, a bronze and fit at the same time. And so I wrecked my skin, man, pretty bad. And so, for example, I just got back from the dermatologist, and I had, over 60 different little things on both my arms zapped off. So I look like I've been, hunting with Dick Cheney. So you'll have to Google that one if you're young. And so now I'm paying the price. And so there was this guy, Patrick Dockery. He's got a great company, great organization. Enjoy is one of his main products. And I was on his TV show. I was on the cover of his magazine. And, he would send me boxes and boxes of his stuff. And I said, hey, I've got this dry skin. And I don't know about pH balance. And I'm just kind of curious about different things. I was asking what kind of ingredients and what his products would help me. And he said, well, why don't I formulate something specifically for you? And we'll get like a 4.5 to 5.5 pH balance and some hair and skin line. We'll just do a shampoo and a body wash, and we'll do like a face and body spray and just make it for you. And then, I said, well, this is awesome. I feel, why don't we provide this for more people who've made these kinds of mistakes with their hair and skin? And we did. And so now, it's called TH Care, and those are my initials. And you can go to my website, TonyHortonLife.com, and it's right there, and you can buy them. We have a 2-for-1 now, which is kind of cool. And we just expanded the line. We have, we had just 2 products, because you don't want to come out of the box with a bunch of stuff and spend all that money and go, wah, it didn't work out. So we have a conditioner now. We have shaving cream, and so it's great. And we've got a lot of people who are regular buyers, and our reviews are off the charts. And because this is a guy who's it's made here in California, made in the US of A. And in California, we got this thing called Prop 65. And so, you can't even, you can have these huge vats of shampoo or conditioner or something, and nothing can go down the drain. It's all got to be specially processed. It's got to be taken away in these tankers. I mean, it's super restrictive. You can understand why people go to other countries like Mexico and China to make stuff, because they don't want to deal. But, this guy is a native Californian, and he wants to employ a lot of people who are local. And it's a really cool combination of both science and nature in these products. There's aloe vera plant, there's resurrection plant, and the pH balance is spot on for all skin and hair types. So I like to research things. I like to help myself. I was exercising initially to help myself. And I was looking at this to try to help myself. And I think, well, I'm not the only person, and this is really interesting to me. So I take care of the inside. This stuff takes care of the outside. And of course, the other thing too that is that we're really excited about is the new hardcore program. 22-minute hardcore, and you can get that at TonyHortonLife.com as well. I mean, that's sort of the hub, my website, where you can find everything. It's a boot camp. It's 8 weeks, ninth week, Hell Week, my wife's favorite program of all the ones I've ever done, because it's 22 minutes, man. It's so down and dirty. It's mean, it's nasty, it's gorilla crawls, it's water bugs, it's burpees, it's squats, it's lunges, it's, pull-ups are in there as well. It's just it's just down, there's no equipment required. You just get on the floor with a mat and you go, man, and so in a very small space. We just want to get back to basics, whereas P90X was everything, man. You were hit with the kitchen sink with P90X, it was core synergistics and chest and back and yoga and Kempo and Pilates and all of it. And so, a lot of folks are a little overwhelmed with P90X, even though we sold 8 or 9 million of them. But, that's it. That's really where I'm putting my energy. And the Brendan course is based on the book. You download 30 pages of worksheets. It's a course, man. And you can knock it out in a week if you want to be a badass. But some people kind of take their time and do it over the course of 3 or 4 weeks. And it just asks the age-old questions. Who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? Here's a formula that worked for me. If you do this, it'll probably work for you too. So, and it gets into the personal development field, which is how I started. I was just a searcher. I was an unhappy, overwhelmed, depressed, sometimes C- student with a speech impediment called cluttering. Yay! And when I have memories of those days, when I have memories of the sadness and the frustration and the confusion that I had before I started exercising and eating right, and then I realized, oh, if I exercise, I have more energy, and if I eat right, my brain chemistry functions better. I'm going to do that. And I'm also going to read every damn book I can from every expert in every field, from Wayne Dyer to Deepak Chopra to Tony Robbins. You know what I mean? And a lot of it was bull. A lot of it was like, this is stupid. This doesn't resonate with me, because I'm not a guru follower, but I do when the information comes and I go, well, that applies to me. And then I would take that information and I would discard everything else. And so I just gathered all that information over the course of 35 years, and I put it into the big picture, into the book. And then, I realized people don't read books from cover to cover anymore. So I'm going to put it in a good old-fashioned online course that you can download and start immediately. And so we're really excited. The numbers are really good out of the box. And it just gives more people more information, more education, so that they can be better. Because if I can do it, I mean, I'm still the laziest guy I know. I mean, if I had all the money in the world, I would just go to Chamonix, France. I would buy a villa, and I would ski starting from noon to 3 o'clock every day. And that would be it. That's what I would do. But I understand that life is more interesting than that, and you have to kind of work and find your self-discipline. And these are the basic, lessons in my life, and I think people will learn a lot from it.
Yeah, we'll put all that in the show notes. Last question, Tony, on injuries. You've had a lot of them back in the day. You're 58 years old. Do you notice a difference in your recovery time? How do you recover so quickly with your injuries? I can't remember which one it was. It was like your bicep one, and then like the next week you were, biking for an hour and a half or something. What's your philosophy on helping people recover from injuries over time? Into their 40s, 50s, people are just like, oh, I'm just old. But obviously, you've heard that before, I'm sure.
The first three things I want to say is yoga. Was that more than three? It was
about three. We'll average 6.
Yeah. Honestly, it really comes down to making sure that your body, using types of movement that expose your body to a wider range of motion, so that when you're out there doing something else, you're not getting hurt in the process. And that's what yoga is for me. Hatha yoga, hot yoga, kundalini yoga, yin yoga, ashtanga. Not all yoga is created equal. Like a lot of people walk into a yoga class and maybe it isn't the right kind, and they just get their butt handed to them, or it's boring as hell or too easy, and they think it's all the same stuff, which it isn't. So, my yoga, people seem to like my P90X and P90X3 and X2 yoga. P90X is a traditional 90-minute yoga class. It's a butt kicking. But P90X2 is shorter, and then P90X3 is only a half an hour. And online on YouTube, I have tons and tons of free yoga sessions. So that's certainly one of them. The other one is inflammation. Like, what are the types of activities and food that you're causing that are causing inflammation inside of your body? And inflammation is just going to lead to injury, man. It's just going to expose you to issues down the road. And the other one too is stress. If you're not in a place where you feel like you're present and you're in the moment and you're enjoying the journey more often than not, that means that you're in some state of stress. But, it's like the frog in the frying pan. You don't even know how out of control your life is, because it's been out of control for so long. You just assume that this constant state of angst and anxiety and worry and fret is part of life, because you feel like you're alive. You feel like, well, let's just battle and I'm going to get act. No, man. No. And a lot of it is your sleep. Are you getting sound sleep? Do you have a good mattress? Do you have a good mattress pad? Do you have bamboo sheets? Is there no TV on? Or no, I don't have a phone. I don't have a TV. In my bedroom, don't have electronics. I don't want them near me. That's my oasis. And so, and then physical therapy. Are you getting physical therapy? Are you getting massages? Do you own a foam roller? Do you have Epsom salt? Are you putting that Epsom salt in a tub and just lying there quietly and patiently? Do you ever take an ice bath? Does that sound like the most horrific thing you've ever heard of in your life? Like, I'm telling you, man, I know people who just, like Brendan Bouchard, he'll fill a bathtub 6 times with buckets of ice, and he'll get in a cold bath, fill it with ice, wait for it to melt. When it melts, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, until it all melts. The guy has, trust me, between that and his diet, no inflammation. And it's like to me, everything I just mentioned, the majority of people don't do at all. Lots of stress, no yoga, no meditation. They sleep on a hammock that they call their mattress. You know what I mean? They got TVs and phones going in their bedrooms. And either you do these things or you don't. And if you don't do them, then don't, come to me whining why you still have so many injuries. And my bicep tendon, that's because I was doing a really stupid move that I knew ergonomically I shouldn't have been doing. But I felt like Zeus on this particular day. And, I was doing iron cross fly push-ups with my feet on a stability ball. Oh, what a shock that my 51-year-old bicep snapped off, and I get stressed out too. And I don't necessarily follow the rules either. Like, I'm fine. I'll just, I'll ice it or I'll foam roll it and I'll be fine. But usually it takes not just one of those things, but 2 or 3 of those things. And, I go to an endocrinologist every 6 months and have 12 vials of blood taken out of me, like a vampire comes in and just, right? And I analyze all of it. Oh, my testosterone is pretty good, but my free testosterone is low. Oh, you might need some DHEA for that. What is DHEA? Well, do a little education. Oh, my thyroid is slightly out of whack, so I take an Armour thyroid. Oh my gosh, I'm super low on vitamin D. I had no idea, because I'm a vampire now. I don't go out in the sun because of all the sun damage. I try to cover up, and so I need that, you know what I mean? And so then I got too much potassium. Well, I'm taking too much, post-workout recovery formula. And this all comes from just checking out your blood. I know people, I can say the word endocrinologist, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. A nutritionist, they wouldn't go near one in a million years. They got it all figured out for themselves. So if you're going to train hard and you're going to get older, because God, by the way, age is coming. There's nothing you can do about it. Then there's all these other things that you have to add to your life so that you can continue to enjoy it physically. And so I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. And that's great advice, And in a nutshell, yes, work out hard, but recover hard too, right? Recovery isn't just laying there, not moving a muscle. There's all the list of things that you just mentioned. You got to recover hard too from an injury, from workout. It's got to become part of your lifestyle. And so I agree with that. And I'm a huge proponent of blood testing. I'm trying to get people to realize that they need to become their own self-experimentation, right? They need to find out what is optimal for them. If this diet, if this supplement, if this workout program is optimal for them, the only way to know that isn't going off of their weight. They have to get their blood work done on a regular basis. If they're checking the oil more in their car than they are testing their blood work, then they're probably going to have some health issues down the road unless they know what's really going on the inside of their body. And so I'm glad that you talked about that. Okay, we're coming up on time here, Tony, so I'll let you go. But a couple last questions, kind of rapid fire, fun, easy questions.
All right, I'll succinct. I'm not good at things, but I'm gonna let's see if I can get them in 15 seconds or less.
Yeah, no, it's and the one that I ask almost everybody, and I think I already know what the answer is, but would you ever be willing to put your body through a fit experiment? Because I know a lot of people that would love to see you try it out for however long, let yourself go, and then see if you could get back to where you are now. Would you ever be willing to do that?
Dude, that was a world-class thing that you did. I don't know how you did it, but I couldn't do it. I mean, every day is so precious to me, and I've got so many responsibilities and so many events and so many things to do that I couldn't take 6 months to blow up and go through that process. When I get a cold or something and I take 3 or 4 days off and I go into the gym and I can't do 20 pull-ups, I freak out. You know what I mean?
Amen.
So I'm just somebody who, and I understand that my numbers and my flexibility and my speed and some of those things are slowing down a little bit, but I always fill in the gap with something else that's kind of fun and cool. But I couldn't do it. Kudos to you. I just couldn't do it.
No, Todd, I totally get it. And like I said, I think I know the answer. Most people say no because you don't. You're living a life where you have all these responsibilities. But it was challenging. I'm not gonna lie. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, and I did not like it. So I'm glad I don't do it anymore. That's why, luckily, I have the TV show where other trainers are doing it. So hopefully they become more empathetic, more respectful, and a better understanding. That's really why I did it. It wasn't to see if I could do it, but empathy has been really, really powerful for me in the TV show.
I bet you and anybody else who does it that's exactly right. You have empathy for people who kind of go through, like it gives you a perspective you would have not had otherwise. And that's a powerful thing. For me, I was just a 98-pound weakling. I was sad and depressed and overwhelmed, and I couldn't physically get up and down a basketball court, So that was sort of I was skinny fat, right? And I weighed 149 pounds, but I had 26% body fat. Like, wow, I was mostly Play-Doh inside, So no wonder I couldn't do 6 pull-ups. But I was skinny, so I could kind of do some things. And so the transformation for me was similar, but not as dramatic.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Okay, you or Sean T, who can do more pull-ups?
Me, by a mile.
Who's the faster sprinter, though?
Sean T by a mile.
All right, Tony. Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I had a blast. I know that my followers loved hearing from you, and I just want to say thank you once again. I will put all of your links in the show notes and let people know what's going on. Make sure everybody that's listening, go follow Tony Horton on social media. I see you out there. So thanks once again, Tony.
Drew, you're the man, dude. I'm so glad. That was fun today. Good questions. Not the same old inane questions that I get all the time. So I appreciate your creativity there. And I'm glad that our conversation might help some more people. That's what it's all about.
Yes, sir. And hopefully we'll be able to hook up sometime soon. Next time I'm in LA, man. Get a workout in.
Yeah, come to town. You let Shauna know. I'll put you through the paces. We do a 3-hour gymnastics routine in my backyard.
3 hours, that's it?
Well, there's a lot of standing around.
I'm just joking.
Guys doing something, and the other 5 of us are watching them, But we climb ropes. We got the pegboard, swing handstands, handstand push-ups, presses. It's one-arm pull-ups. It's the whole thing, man.
I've seen you guys do that, actually. I've seen some videos of you guys doing that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Functional.
Functional. Yes, sir. All right, Tony. I'll be in touch, man. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening to today's episode with Tony Horton. Hopefully you got a lot out of this. I know I did. He's a great guy. He's always fired up. He's 58 years old, you guys. He's killing it. He looks great. He's more fit than I am, and my hope is to be as fit as he is when he is 58. If you guys like this episode, please share it. Please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, and leave us a comment. Leave us a review. We definitely appreciate when you guys let us know what you think. Even if you don't like it, it's okay. Be honest. I don't have an ego about that. I don't mind criticism at all, right? Or just your opinion on how we can improve this podcast. Also, go show our sponsor some love over at questketo.com. Check out some of their keto meals, and then drop an fbomb.com. Check out some of their healthy fats that you can take with you on the go, and use my discount code FIT2FATFIT. Also, check out my website, fit2fatfit.com. Sign up for my newsletter to stay in the know, and check out my 6-month transformation program, transform.fit2fatfit.com. And follow me on social media, you guys. Give me a shout out. Say hi. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Pinterest, all of that good stuff. And I try and get back to everybody as much as possible. But anyways, thank you guys for the support throughout the years. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to tune in next week for another great episode.